All right, let's talk about Malaysian income tax. When you get paid, does the tax office see you as an employee or as a business? It's a huge question, and trust me, the answer completely changes the game for your finances. So today, we're going to break down exactly what this means for you.
You see, every time you earn money, the LHDN, Malaysia's Inland Revenue Board, basically puts you in one of two boxes. And it's got nothing to do with your job title, it's all about the legal nature of how you work.
And it all boils down to two phrases that sound almost identical but are worlds apart. A contract of service versus a contract for service. Yep, that one little word, of versus for, makes all the difference. One path makes you an employee, the other, well, it pretty much makes you a business. Let's dig into what that actually means.
So first up, let's look at the employee path. This is the most common setup, the one most of us are familiar with, having a traditional job, working for a company.
The legal wording here is kind of wild. The Income Tax Act literally calls this a master-servant relationship. I know, it sounds super old-fashioned, but it gets the point across perfectly. The employer, the master, has a ton of control over the employee, the servant. This kind of income falls under Section 4B of the tax law.
So how can you know for sure if you're on this path? Well, the LHDN looks for some very specific signs in your work life. Let's run through the checklist.
Okay, think about your own job right now. First, control. Does your boss decide your work hours, where you work, and how you get things done? Second, tools. Did the company give you your laptop, your desk, your software? Third, remuneration. Are you getting a fixed paycheck every month, plus benefits like sick leave? And finally, contributions. Is your employer paying into your EPF for you? If you're nodding along to these, yeah, you're pretty much definitely on the employee path.
But what if you were shaking your head no to all of that? Well, then you might just be on the business path. This is the world of freelancers, consultants, gig workers, and small business owners.
The key phrase here is contract for service. And notice the huge shift in the language. You're not a servant anymore, you're an independent agent. A client or a principal hires you to get a job done, but they don't get to control how you do it. In the eyes of the taxman, this is business income, and it's covered under a whole different rule, Section 4A.
It's a completely different way of thinking. You're not just doing a job, you are the business. You're a service provider, and the money you make is business revenue. Plain and simple.
Okay, so we've got the two paths defined, employee versus business. But why does this distinction really matter? I mean, really? Well, this is where it gets interesting, because this is the part that directly affects your bank account.
Yeah, this isn't just about some boring legal labels or paperwork. Whether you're a 4B or a 4A has a direct and often dramatic impact on how much cash you actually get to keep at the end of the day.
And this table just lays it all out perfectly. Let's quickly go through it. Expense deductions? Super limited for employees, but way more flexible if you're a business. Capital allowances? That's basically writing off big purchases like a new work computer. Only businesses get to do that. Had a bad year and lost money? A business can use that loss to lower its tax bill next year. An employee? Nope. And things like mandatory EPF and monthly tax deductions or PCB? That's an employee thing. It's a whole different financial universe.
Let's just zoom in on that expense thing for a second, because it's a huge deal. The ability to deduct business expenses is probably the single biggest financial perk of being on the business path. Every legitimate expense, your internet bill, software, even a coffee with a client, lowers your taxable income, which means you pay less tax. For employees, that kind of flexibility just isn't there.
So, after all that, what's the bottom line? What's the main thing you need to walk away with today? Let's bring it all home.
Look, here are the key takeaways. Number one, that tiny little word of or for literally defines your financial reality when it comes to taxes. Number two, being an employee gives you stability, right? You've got that mandatory EPF, the PCB is taken care of for you. Number three, the business path gives you way more flexibility with your money, especially with expenses. And that means understanding where you stand is the absolute first step to any kind of smart financial planning. And that brings us right back to you. Now that you know the rules of the game, take a hard look at how you earn your money. Which contract is really running your life? Answering that question for yourself is the most important step you can take to get a real grip on your financial future.